go ahead and bring in our buddy Roman Harper here, and we'll talk to Roman about what is going on with the college football playoffs and this Alabama roster. Brownie, bring Roman in here, man.
Can we ask Roman the last question we just asked?
Sure, why not? We'll start that way with the SEC Network and ESPN's Roman Harper, always good with his time with us. You saw him in New Orleans as he watched Georgia and Notre Dame with his own two eyeballs. We're going to talk about the college football playoff teams. Lance, first of all, Harp, I hope you're doing well. Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year's. What's up, fellas?
Oh, wait. It is.
I heard your guys' conversation. It was deep, but then it got weird, and then I think it went even deeper.
And then weirder.
Harper, simple though.
Then it went weirder, yeah.
So Elvis would have been 90 today. It's hard to believe. I think
Crazy.
he died before you were born. But ultimately, who's going to have the bigger career, Elvis or Taylor Swift?
I don't think Elvis's career ever ends. Let's just start off with that. People still imitate him, like you said. He's still out there, and it depends on Taylor Swift's life. Like, maybe Taylor Swift eventually stops doing music. Well, doesn't stop, but like she gets married, she has kids, like she could like have a real life. So I think that is yet to be determined what can happen.
Yeah, good point, because Elvis made a lot of money, but he didn't make Taylor Swift money. She's got enough where she never has to write another.
Yeah.
She can shut it down at whatever she is, 35 years old.
She didn't have a Colonel Tom Parker. Yeah. Colonel Tom was taking all Elvis's money.
Yeah, exactly. So, Roman, before we get into the playoffs and stuff, Keon Sabb coming back. I've been excited. I've been excited about the defensive names that are coming back in Tuscaloosa. If Lawson can be healthy, Justin Jefferson, Damani Jackson, there's some people that could have left that are coming back. LT Overton, Keenan on the defensive line. What do you think about those guys re-upping in Tuscaloosa and not going elsewhere or the NFL?
Hey, congrats. I don't think they all – I think it's smart. Anytime you can continue to try and – especially because now these guys can make a little money. It's not like any of these guys are quote unquote struggling.
That's right.
I don't even know if you're even going to class like they have to. I don't even know those situations anymore. Because once you start paying these kids money, how are you not going to? They all passing, right? Like you're no longer ineligible. So it's just I think it's a great opportunity on both sides for the players to take this time to get better because they all were not ready for the NFL to come in and take somebody's roster spot. Guaranteed. And so it's a great opportunity for them as players, but then also as coaches to, all right, let's have some kind of familiar establishment. It would be your second year in this program, second year on this defense. Maybe everything will start to make a little bit more sense. It'll slow down for everybody, and everybody kind of learns the way each other plays. And, having a sense of cohesiveness, I think that could be really good for the coaches and players.
So one thing we've noticed, Harp, as we've talked about Alabama, the fans finished the season with more confidence in Kane Wommack's unit than they did in Alabama's offense, which is pretty crazy. But we are getting more complaints about offense for Alabama than defense. They kind of turned the corner on Kane Wommack. You were critical. You watched the film. You don't just see the results. You watch the film. Did you turn a little bit of a corner on that defense too, or you still have questions?
I will forever have questions because I'm naturally inquisitive, especially as a defensive player that's played it, sees it. I will naturally always have some pushback because I look at it from the player's perspective, not from the coach's perspective. And so it's more important to always try to respect the player's opinion because they're the ones that are on the field doing it. So if they're messing it up, it's because they don't understand naturally. Or you're coaching it and you're just calling plays and getting lucky and putting guys in certain situations. But I thought Alabama's defense had ups, downs. It's still things about eye discipline. I will always want to know and maybe see things better or differently. But that's Kane Wommack's defense. That's how they're calling it. As long as they call it a certain way and they play complementary football, they're going to win the games. And that's what ultimately I root for Alabama to do. I don't care how it gets done as long as it gets done. And so, but I get paid money to question, poke holes in, and tell you what I see with my own eyes and be objectively, fair to everybody, not just Alabama, but everybody.
Okay, with that said, 4 losses now that you've had time to process it. And by the way, the offense in 3 of those 4 losses against Tennessee, against Oklahoma and Michigan was absolutely atrocious. Year 1, Kalen DeBoer, what kind of letter grade would you give him?
I'd say a B.
Wow.
maybe a B plus.
Damn,
It's like a mid B. I don't know about a B plus. Like somewhere like an 86, 86 and a half.
wow.
Is that about right? Yeah.
Well, I
86.
mean, I gave him a D. I think Brown gave him a D, and I think maybe Dunaway C.
I gave him a C plus.
I gave him a C, I thought. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, I give him a B. Look, first of all, let's take a step back here. If you'd have told me Alabama was going to not win 10 games for the first time since Nick Saban's first year, 16 years ago, I'd be like, I could see that happening. If you're going to tell me that they were going to have 3 regular season losses, and 2 of them being Tennessee and Oklahoma at the beginning of the season, I'd have said I could have seen that. But the reason you feel the way you feel is because the way you got those results, right? You beat Georgia, which everybody just thought you could have lost that game. It's very easily. And then you followed up by losing to Vanderbilt, which you haven't lost to Vanderbilt since 1984. Then you you lose to Tennessee. You guys just look so inadequate offensively. And then all of a sudden that happens when you're supposedly an offensive minded coach. That's why we bring it in, especially because the offense was supposed to be ahead. Then it was defense when the defense was playing good, very unkiltered all year long. Everybody was kind of firing on all cylinders. Then you beat LSU the way you did. Everybody's back again. Then you lose the way you did to Oklahoma. Just awful performance. And then finishing up with losing to Michigan's backups mostly. And so it's a terrible way to finish. I give you a B on the season just because I thought you accepted a hard job, a hard situation, that it's still Alabama. You still really showed some really good things, and you did a heck of a job recruiting as well through it all on a short term where you're just kind of getting into this program. You had to re-recruit everything. I give you a B on your first year. I thought it was much better than what everybody wants to think. I'm not going to be caught up in the motions of just losing to Michigan the last game, which they played terrible. Just flat out, they played terrible. But that's kind of who this team's been all year.
In fairness, remembering, I think I gave him a B minus, not to kiss Roman's butt or anything, but I think it was a B minus. Roman Harper is with us here on the next round. College football playoffs. We get back to the semifinals tomorrow night. The Friday game I want to ask you about, how does Texas slow down Ohio State's offense that's now putting up 40-plus points a game in the college football playoffs? What can Texas do to disrupt what is now an Ohio State juggernaut offensively?
Number one, be who you are. Be who you've been all year long, which is a tough, badass defense that don't take nothing from nobody. That's what you have been all year. Be that. And also, most importantly, understand where Jeremiah Smith is at all times. He is Weapon X. And where Weapon X is, if he's not in his normal positions, your antennas have to be up. This is a game that you have to think through. One thing that I learned when playing in the NFL is that the wins are all in the details. When you have a specific game plan, you got to go out there and execute it, because at the NFL, everybody's good. So it comes all about the game plan, all about the little nuances and every little nugget that you can do. And what I saw Ohio State do versus Oregon was not paying attention to the details. They jumped out on Oregon, and next you know that game was over. They jumped out on Tennessee because they weren't paying it. Tennessee trying to do some different things, and all of a sudden the game's over. Texas, I'm not going to say it's a glorified home game, but you're in the state of Texas, so you will have a little bit of pizzazz about you. And Texas has a really, really good secondary. You got to stop Jeremiah Smith. That's your understanding of where he lines up at. When he's at the number 2 spot, when he's close to the end man in the line of scrimmage, these are certain telltales. He's going behind the line of scrimmage to be one-on-one situations on the backside. They're taking the top off of him, trying to get him level with one-on-one versus a free safety in the middle of the field. If you're covering him, you got to spend time on him. You got to slow him down early. You can't just let him run down the middle of your field. He's the guy that you have to pay attention and try and really focus on, and then make them beat you doing other things, which they still have the ability to. It's just harder to do. You got to take away the deep play and the explosive plays if I'm Texas, because that's the one thing that Ohio State has changed up in the playoffs, and that's why they're winning the way they are.
Quinn Ewers, we played it on the show. He told the media in Austin that field goals are doing you no good in this game. I mean, do you think Sark plays it that way? I mean, is he going to, hey, fourth and 2 from the 30, let's just go, man, no kicking?
No, look, everybody thinks that stuff works, but then, it can cost you as well. You saw it with Detroit, Minnesota. eventually these teams, you got to start taking points. You can't just assume we're always just going to get back. You do it once, twice, you're like, all right, I got to get some points here, because at the end of the day, it's still points that's what wins you games ultimately. So you say that, I think you just want to have an aggressive mentality going into it. That's what he's telling them. That's one way. It's like, hey, we're going to be very aggressive in this game because we know we have to score. I think that also may be a reason why we see a better version of Texas offensively, because Texas starts fast, then they end up playing with their food, allow teams to come back, then they turn it on again. If they're having to go against Ohio State, maybe they're saying, hey, we just have to stay aggressive the whole time. There's no taking your foot off the gas. Maybe that's something they're doing internally as well.
Outside of Texas, Arizona State, I mean, these games have been garbage, all double-digit blowouts. But this game tomorrow night, when you look at Notre Dame, Penn State, I really don't see a path to somebody winning this game by double digits. I think this should be a tremendous game. You?
Yeah, especially because both of these teams want to win the same way. Line of scrimmage games. I'm looking at Notre Dame matching up versus Penn State. The one thing I give Notre Dame, first of all, Marcus Freeman deserves a lot of credit. He outcoached Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs.
Hey, 13-5 against top 25s now. I mean, that guy, he's getting it done.
Yeah, he's flat out coaching his butt off, and his team believes. You saw that speech before the game. If you didn't, you need to see it by Notre Dame's offensive lineman. They were juiced. They were ready to go. He's got those guys playing at a different level. And this Notre Dame team is still, whether we like the minute or not, they're the hottest team in the country. They've won more games consecutively than anybody else. And so they've earned the right to be here. They're playing really, really well. Give them a lot of credit for their offensive line instilling their will on Georgia by the fourth quarter. That could still happen again versus Penn State. That's going to be the matchup. Penn State up front, they got some athletic guys that get after the passer. They're disruptive. They win up front by speed and agility. I want to see what Notre Dame's power downhill running will be able to do. Not running sideline to sideline like Boise State maybe tried to do, or what SMU naturally does with their run game. But Notre Dame really trying to push them around early and trying to control the game from that front, and then play stymie enough defense to try and slow down Aller and that running game of Singleton and those guys. So we'll see. That's going to be a great matchup too. But I agree. I think it's going to be another defensive battle. And Notre Dame has found a way to win games recently because of the big play, the kickoff return. Then they had the 2 interceptions versus USC, and then what they had then they had another big special teams play in the Penn State in the first round.
Yeah,
so that's what Notre Dame's doing. Oh, the 98-yard run.
Yeah,
they have a big play that kind of sets it off. So we'll see. Notre Dame's they found a way.
All right, he is Roman Harper. At Harp41 is where you find him on social media. You see him on the SEC Network and ESPN talking about all these games. Harp, thank you for the time, man. Enjoy the games.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks as always, man. I just got the barbershop. Hey, look, who you guys taking? Give me your picks. Go.
I am Ohio State, Penn State.
Ohio State, Notre Dame.
I am leaning Ohio State and Penn State.
All right. No Texas.
No Texas. That's exactly what Sark wants. He wants us down again.
Save the graphic.
What about you? Are you going? Are you going Texas?
I have not. I'm hedging right now. I haven't decided.
I
gotta get to Dallas. When I get to Dallas, I have a feel.
Yeah, he gives his picks
I'm a
for
feel
pay
guy.
somewhere else.
Hey, bring a scarf and a hoodie, man. It's gonna be cold.
I'll tell you what you go feel is bone chilling cold. Is what you go feel when you get to Dallas.
Thanks,
Luckily,
Roman.
we're inside.
Yeah, that's true. See you, Harp. Thank you. You got to get outside at some point to get to that stadium.